following through with the law and dealing with these persons?
Well, actually, like you rightly said, most of these offenses are not only restricted to the electoral acts. Some of them are contained in our regular provisions of the penal code and the criminal codes. And the electoral acts on its own empowers INEC under section 145 of the act to prosecute electoral offenses. Now, besides INEC prosecuting electoral offenses, the Attorney General's office, also under section 174 of the Constitution, can also initiate, take over, and continue prosecutions. Likewise, state governments too can do same via their Attorney Generals. And the police also, by virtue of section 66 of the Police Act, is empowered to prosecute some of these offenses also. Once investigations are completed, for those of us in the Office of Attorney General, be it the federal or the state, once police or the various investigating authorities complete their investigations, they forward these files to the various prosecuting agencies for them to advise whether there is a prima facie case that has been established against these persons. And once any prima facie case has been established, prosecutions go on. Now, I am not aware that there has been any electoral offense, stricto sensu, forwarded by the police to the Office of the General as at present. But I know that most of all these offenses could come in form of murder, arson, and the rest of them, and most of the states' laws also make provisions for prosecution of some of these offenses. So where they come under penal codes or the state's the state offenses, the state's Ministry of Justice and prosecuting agencies could prosecute in that regard. So it's not, it's only mostly when some of those offenses happen in the FCT, then the Federal Ministry of Justice can come in to prosecute. But if they are to be prosecuted in other states based on other provisions of the law, then other ministries of justice for the states, police, and other agencies could prosecute. So it's not stricto sensu something that is left for the Honorable Attorney General's chambers alone.
Okay, thank you. We'll still get back to you, but let's, I'm told we can now connect with Mazi Afam Osigwe, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Mazi, we do apologize for the hiccup. We're back to you now. Just a recap of my question. I mean, before even talking about prosecuting or arresting and all that, you know, I think it would be proper for us to even understand what constitutes election offenses. What exactly are we dealing with, and to what extent, you know, did it affect the general elections, the just concluded general elections?
Thanks. Well, electoral offenses or election are those offenses, are those acts which the law has outlawed or forbidden, and some of it are geared at disrupting the electoral process, perverting it, or subverting the will of the people, or stopping the people from participating in the process. And these offenses, as the Assistant Director of Public Prosecution said, could be found in the Electoral Act or in the Penal Code or Criminal Code. So they can come in different forms. It could be murder when a person is murdered, even though the murder aspect of it is not provided for in the Electoral Act. But basically, these are offenses committed in the course of campaign, in the course of the conduct of the election, in declaration of result. So it could be directed at individuals, the voters, the officers involved in the conduct of the election, the security agencies, party officials, or even ordinary citizens. So now, persons who are involved in them, in order to ensure that a particular outcome is achieved, either to ensure that the ballots are destroyed, that the votes are not counted, that people are not able to vote, or that people do not come out at all, or driven away from voting. So like I said, they come in different forms, so it depends on what you're saying. When you're talking about general election, you have mentioned a few figures coming from the states about the large number of persons who were arrested. So these are persons who, depending on the allegations against them, committed different aspects of these electoral offenses, as I have referred to earlier, which are directed at, in one word or the other, adversely affecting the outcome of the general election, either to their favor or to the disfavor of another person.
I still want to stay with you, Mazi Afam, and this is to clarify for the benefit of our viewers. Have we reached the stage in our criminal jurisprudence that we make a distinction and say, oh, these are necessarily offenses committed in the course of elections, so they will be dealt with, especially the same way you have election petitions being dealt with sui generis? But there are categories of offenses that are committed. Is there a mindset, from the practitioner's point of view, that tends to be tolerant, if you may, of offenses committed in the course of elections versus offenses that are committed outside of electoral cycles? Oh, somebody assaults another person, oh, it's in the course of election. Somebody burns down the house of another deliberately, oh, it's in the course of election. Somebody wields an AK-47 or even a Beretta pistol illegally, and so we said, no, the Firearms Act will not apply. Is there some fuzziness in terms of our criminal jurisprudence in this regard?
Now, every society must deploy the powers of the state to ensure that persons who are alleged to have violated its laws are prosecuted. And it doesn't matter whether they are electoral, financial, or economic crimes, or terrorism, whichever form it comes in. Now, if we start again to suggest that because it's electoral offenses, they should be fast-tracked in our court, the courts are already overworked. And I keep insisting that we cannot continue to lay emphasis on politics and the electoral process in clogging up the dockets of our courts to the disadvantage of commercial transactions, human rights cases, and other cases that will help to build confidence in our administration of criminal justice. We cannot continue to amend our laws to insist that these cases be fast-tracked while others are allowed to languish in the dockets of our courts. No, we cannot. But the more important thing to do in this case is to show the will to prosecute these offenses. So many persons are routinely arrested during the elections and they are never prosecuted. So I think that emphasis should be on ensuring that these matters are taken to court, not on insisting that they should move at a very fast pace.
All right, Senior Advocate of Nigeria's Leonard Said Mazi Afam, will get back to you. If we can also bring in Aminu Abdul-Rashid into our conversation to also x-ray, for me, again, whether there was a preponderance of election offenses in the just concluded election that should be of concern to us, and therefore should, be of interest to prosecutors.
Just like